I want to talk about learning to love yourself. If you are going through a painful breakup, a divorce, or maybe you're having financial troubles or anything that is really affecting your well being, this video is for you. If you don't know me, my name's Deborah. I'm a transformational healer and intuitive coach, and I am so inspired to do this video about learning to love yourself. If you are on a spiritual journey, following a spiritual path, or even a religion, this video might be really helpful for you because all religions, all spiritual paths lead to the same place. If you are agnostic or if you are an atheist, this is probably not your video. But I want to talk about how to love yourself. I have been doing my private sessions, and I have to say that whenever I share with the client to choose themselves and to learn to love themselves, they roll their eyes, and I do as well. Why? Because it is something that we hear in the spiritual world and nobody knows how to do it. And we've had a laugh today when I was working with my clients about it, because learning to love yourself is something that we didn't get when we were born. We didn't have a manual that says, this is how you live, this is what you do. No, we've been bumbling around. And I have to say that I've been on a spiritual journey since my mid 20s. I found my guru, or my guru found me, whichever way, in my 20s. Thank God, because I started to grow at that point and I started to see the connection of my life and why things were happening the way they were. But I want to share with you that my guru in his teachings have taught that no matter what you've been presented in a spiritual path or a religion, that it is imperative to love God. So even that can be very broad and very convoluted. How do you do that? What do you do? So, what I have experienced in my life is I've had some amazing divine experiences, especially when I was younger with the divine, but I wasn't quite clear on what that was. I wasn't really ready for it until later, going through some painful experiences and thinking that I could find things out on my own and try to fulfill my desires my way, which there's nothing wrong with that. Here's the thing is that when we are finding out who we really are as the universe, okay, so there's nothing outside. The God is not outside of us in this bearded man in the sky judging us. No, it's not like that. God is the universe, and we are part of the universe. We've been created by that. And so we can't even live, we can't even breathe without God, without that universal energy. So when I do sessions, either in groups or privately, I always bring you back to that beingness that you are, especially in the guided meditation, where I bring you back to the beingness that is the awareness that is running the show, running the universe, running our body mind. And that's your true self. And the body mind is the ego, is the costume that we're wearing. And what happens is when we're born, we are given these concepts. Oh, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I am part of this culture, I'm Indian, I'm American, I'm French, or whatever it is. And you take on all of these concepts about yourself, about the world, and that's how you navigate through. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we believe in the delusion of the world, thinking it's real. And once you start to wake up spiritually, then you start to see that it's only atoms vibrating at a certain frequency. Or it's when you start to wake up, you see that this world is a dream, it's a movie. And I also have to say, as a side note, that some people say they're awakened. And yes, they're waking up. And I don't claim to be awakened. I'm always waking up. There's always more to unveil. There's always more. So I don't want to claim that I am an awakened soul, but what I've experienced is when someone says choose yourself and to love yourself, it's really you're loving God, you're loving the divine self within. And how do you do that? You are developing a relationship. I'll give you an example. I learned meditation techniques on my spiritual path. And a lot of times, I and many other people get into the habit of meditating where it's an obligation. And then you feel bad if you don't meditate. But it shouldn't be like that because the relationship that you have with the divine should be just as much of a relationship that you have with a person, no matter what kind of relationship that is, it romantic or familial or friends. You're not going to ignore your friends or your family or your partner, but in the relationship with God, we ignore it because we take it for granted. And yet, in a way, we're kind of sitting ducks because we don't know when we're going to leave unless we're completely like a yogi in the Himalayas and they know sometimes when they're going to exit the body. But it's for us, the rest of us, we don't know. And so we're running on this energy every day, and yet we're ignoring it. So, my experience and what I can share with you about how to love yourself is to develop that relationship with the divine as your best friend. Because it goes back to this: the majority of the world, if they don't have that sense of beingness and that God self, are going to control and manipulate their way through life. And what happens in relationships, because I coach a lot of people in relationships, is that if you have one person who doesn't have that awareness within and they're trying to fill a void, they usually pick somebody else who also is doing the same thing. And it just doesn't work because you don't realize that you are love, that what you're seeking in that person, the desire that we all have installed in our hardware is that love. We are always seeking that love, always. And there's nothing wrong with it because we think it's in a person and that we hold our happiness hostage and we put our happiness on hold because we think that once we have that partner, then we'll be happy. And usually that's not the case. It's very rare when you have two people that are happily together. And I have to say, and I share this with all my clients, is get the book from Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and read or listen to the chapter on conscious relationships. That'll make you laugh because who does that? Who has that kind of awareness to be in a relationship like that, where you really allow each other to have the awareness of when things come up instead of being an avoidant or being an anxious attachment and feeling like you have to run because it gets too real, it gets too intense. That's what a lot of people do. Why? Because they don't have the tools, they don't know who they really are, and then they end up if begging for love from this person, trying to control and manipulate them to get them to love them, or it's the other partner who is breadcrumbing them and isn't showing up and communicating and not doing their part, holding their part. And so it's a nightmare for both. And so the desire to love or to be loved is, well, it's both, is a very real and normal desire. But when you can take it and give it to the divine and cultivate a relationship with the divine, you're going to feel fulfilled. You're going to feel grounded. You're going to not beg for love from someone else. And you're going to give love even more because you know who you are, because you are love. The universe that's inside of you is perfect health, perfect wealth, perfect love. So whenever we do our healing night, which is once a month, by the way, you can always join my community. I have a free private Facebook group that you can join, and you have more attention from me, and you can make friends and also attend some of these online events just to get to know my work. So everything is in the description of this video. But here we go into the rest of this video. Is when you develop this relationship with someone, with the divine, when you develop this relationship with the divine, then you become content. You become, and it doesn't mean you don't have challenges in life, but you become a wealth of love because that's who you are. And when I do the healing night, I guide people into going back into that beingness and accessing that energy that can heal your body, that can heal your mind, can heal your soul. It doesn't even have to heal. You just tune into who you really are. And then you start to release the limiting beliefs that you have about about the world, about the partner, about love, about blah, all of it. And what are you releasing? The identification with being a person. I know this sounds crazy, and only some of you may get it because it's very deep what I'm saying. And I'm sharing this. This isn't coming out of left field. This is from Lester Levinson, who is my teacher's teacher. He died in the 80s, and all of his stuff is on YouTube. You can listen to it. He started the Sedona method, and with Hale Dwowskin is ahead of the Sedona method. And my teacher teaches that, but she goes a little bit more in depth than just the Sedona method. But that's where I have learned a lot of my release work. So in my work as a healer, I incorporate the releasing into the energy healing. So when I'm working one-on-one or in a group, I am helping you identify the limited beliefs, and I help you to pull them out of your body, to alchemize it, and to, because energy is neither created or destroyed, but I help you to start changing your thinking to what you want, not what you don't want, and to release the stories that you're holding that is designing the experiencing of your life. So if you're holding stories about your childhood, that you weren't getting the love that you needed, then that is going to continue to show up in your relationships because you're not at peace. You haven't let it go. And those stories are painful to see because we have taken those experiences and made them very personal. So, what is release work? Releasing is letting go of the personal. Doesn't mean that you can't have your feelings. See, that you stop owning your feelings. When they come up, you welcome them. When it feels personal, you welcome them. But you see that you don't have to hold on to them and make a story about them and then drag them into a relationship and then create all sorts of problems in the relationship because you're still holding on to the past. Same with if you're in a bad relationship or several, and then you meet somebody new. If you haven't healed from those past relationships, it's going to repeat. It will repeat. And you don't want to do that. So releasing is very important, but it's not the whole package. So in my work, it's my tagline is release, rewrite, receive. So how do you release? You set an intention. So let's say you are going through a breakup. You say, I allow myself to have the perfect relationship if you don't want to reconcile with that person. If you do, you say, I allow for Joe and I to be back together again. And that's going to sound very radical to your mind because your mind's going to come up with all the reasons why you don't think that's possible. And that's what you need to release are those limiting beliefs. It sounds crazy, but if you really see it, then you won't be able to unsee it. So release first, you set the intention, release, and then you start to write a new script. You start to write what you want. And then you receive, meaning you change your frequency. You're in a new timeline. You have a new version of you. And so you've rewritten the script of your life through your thoughts, letting go of what doesn't serve you anymore and starting to write what does serve you and write and think of what you want, not what you don't want. So, how does this tie in with loving yourself? So, loving yourself in my books is to have a relationship with the divine, a personal relationship with the divine. You don't have to make it personal, but for me, it helps because if I'm going to sit down to meditate, what am I doing if my mind is all over the place? I'm not focusing on the divine, having that appointment with the divine. And I'm ignoring the divine. I'm thinking of everything else but the divine. And yet I'm like, well, I'm meditating and I need to get this in today. No, it's how would you feel if somebody comes to you and a partner is like, I'll spend time with you, but they're on their phone and they're doing other things. They're not present with you. And that's not love. That doesn't feel like love. So with the divine, you set the time, but again, you don't have to even meditate because my teacher always says, you know what, we're meditating all the time because We are the divine, right? We can't live without the divine. We can't live without that energy that's running the body. And we don't even know what it is. We are who we are. We can't even explain it. We can a little bit, but we really don't know. So that beingness is how you can even, you have this relationship with the beingness, but also, and let me back up here. When you see that you are the beingness and that you are connected with the beingness, then you have this beautiful divine romance with this omnipresent energy. You're not limiting it to, oh my God, I won't be happy until I'm with this person. And what happens when we do have a partner and we do have those moments of love, we feel completely whole and complete. But when they're gone, we suffer if we're not anchored in the divine. So in the divine, you develop that relationship. That's how you love yourself. And then you welcome the ego. You don't poo-poo it, because you need the ego to get through the world. But you don't anchor yourself in the ego. And that's what a majority of people do. And that's why things don't work out, because they are controlling and manipulating their way through, because they don't know any difference. They don't know any different. And so that to me is the answer to having this beautiful love that we are seeking. And it doesn't mean you can't have a partner. On the contrary, you'll have more choices, that's for sure. And you will also be open to something that's healthy, instead of being in a trauma bond like I was, or trying to make something work that is next to impossible because of holding on for dear life and trying to squeeze love out of that person when you are love. So once you understand it and you experience it, you will never be able to entertain any thoughts of low self-worth, not feeling loved. You'll laugh, because you're like, I am love. It's ridiculous. And if those thoughts come up, because sometimes they try to, you won't pay attention to them. That is what releasing is. You just stop paying attention to these thoughts. Before, you were just married to them. You were immersed in them. You didn't even question them. So I was inspired last night to listen to the president of Self-Realization Fellowship, because that's my path. And my guru is Paramahansa Yogananda. But I was listening to a talk by Sri Dayamata, who was the president of SRF for many years. And I was inspired to listen to her again. And she has the most amazing relationship with the divine. And when she's speaking, it's as if she's talking about her divine boyfriend and how much in love she is with it. I never hear that from people. There's so much more in the mind about it. But when she speaks, it's coming from the heart, and she is just in love with the divine. And the one thing that I heard, again, that I have heard many years, but I was reminded of, is that how all of us have within our software this huge desire for love. Every creature on this planet is looking for love. And it's like we have this gaping hole of trying to fill this void with anything, every people, places, things, whatever it is. We're searching for it. And what she said was, what's the cosmic joke is that God is waiting for us to come back to God. Like, that God wants us as much as we want love. It's like wanting love. And so God is waiting for us to turn to him. And you can call God whatever you want. It's beingness, awareness, consciousness, cosmic consciousness, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat, whatever you can relate to. But when you hold on to that, when you turn that energy towards God and say, oh my God, I love you, I want a relationship with you. That's a game, guys. That is a game changer, because you will have everything you want when you do that. And yet we're she was saying that we're like these runaway brides. We're like, no, I'm going to just figure it out myself. I'm going to go and try to get my desires filled. And I'm not going to trust you, because it's almost like, and I know I've gone through that for years, where I'm putting God on hold. I believe in you and I'm experiencing you and everything, but it's almost like I didn't trust the universe would fulfill my desires. And I've had so many experiences where the universe surprises me, because the universe loves to surprise you. When you're trying to control, it can't surprise you. But I've recently had some amazing experiences where I'm like, I would have never thought of that. I would have never planned that. Wow. So that's what the universe wants. And even in the Bible, it says, seek ye first and everything shall be added unto you. That's exactly what my spiritual path is about. And sometimes we go into these circles where we're like going, get it, but you do this full circle and you come back and you're like, you know what? That's true. I get it now. I didn't really believe it, but now I do, because you experience it. You don't want anything to be intellectual. You want to be experiential. You want to have the experience. So develop that relationship with the divine and see what happens. Because when you can see, and this is something also that my teacher talks about, is that make God your bank, that every dollar that comes in is from the universe and every experience is from the universe. Make it your, I call God my sugar daddy, and my sugar daddy my boyfriend. And when I said that to my teacher, because I have a guru, but I also have a spiritual teacher who's in alignment, who loves Yogananda, who's part of the whole setup. Yogananda put her in my life, and she really speaks my language, and it's beautiful, so personal, so intimate, that the guru put her in my life. But I told her one time, I said, well, God is my boyfriend. And she just laughed and laughed. It was great. It was awesome. Make God your friend or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or the divine mother. The God, the divine mother, is the friend, the lover, everything that you're seeking. And this is not a religious rant. This is not about religion. This is just simple. It's about God and love. And to end this, I want to say love is the answer to everything. When I'm coaching people in relationships or any kind of problems that they're having with anything in life, love is always the answer. And if you feel drawn to this video and this resonates, I would love for you to join my community, and you're welcome to do a private session and really get to know the process that I share with people. And I have a lot of resources that I share as well, because I believe in this work so much, and I live, eat, breathe it, and more than ever now. And sometimes, even when you're on a spiritual path for years, you go through some of the most intense times where you feel like you're completely off the path, but you're not. You're just going through lessons. You're going through things that are freeing you, actually. It feels like they're not, but it actually is. So whenever you are feeling stuck in a breakup, as an example, if you're going through something like this, or you're in a relationship that's not working and it's toxic, I want to share with you that that's your opportunity to really start to let go of whatever it is that they're reflecting back to you, because that's what they're doing. And this is your opportunity to free yourself from wounds that usually are being brought up, especially in romantic relationships, that you can heal. You can totally heal. You can heal by releasing them, letting go of the stories, letting go of the trauma. Easier said than done, but if you have somebody by your side and a group, it is very helpful. So I hope that you join my community. And if not, I hope that you get any kind of support that will help you come to the divine,